we're back. This is Pod and Deliver. We have actually a special guest. We have Jordan Smith. Jordan is a second year teacher. But Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you teach and how long you been doing it? We know it's second year, but what do you teach?
Yeah, of course. Hello, my name is
Hey,
Jordan Smith. I'm a second year teacher at LAUSD, and right now I'm in the history department teaching modern world history, which is a 10th grade class, and ethnic studies, which is a ninth grade class. But I'm also in the AVID program at the school. So it's our first year doing AVID, advancement via individual determination. It's like a 4-year type of cohort thing. So I'm an AVID teacher with a 10th grade AVID class right now as well.
oh, that's great. Hey, when we talked about having you on, Jordan, just thinking last year we had a first year teacher and we talked about he was going through
Mhm.
and he's actually a former student of mine.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about you. This is your second year teaching, and I was
Mhm.
just reading. Actually, we actually had an episode not too long ago, Jordan,
Mm.
regarding teachers who are leaving the profession. And
Yeah.
then recently, I just read a Vox article that said 44% of teachers are going to be leaving in the next 5 years. What do you make of that? I mean, and how do you feel about that? Are you think you're going to be in here for the long haul, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think you, Jacob, and you, Ruben, can agree. We all have at least that one friend or that one person we know who is a former teacher. You know what I mean? Like those people who are in it for maybe 4 or 5 years and then they are like, nope, I'm out of here. And respect to them, honestly. I would say me personally, I'm in it for the long haul. And um, I think if I could, especially coming out of the COVID age, like my first year teaching last year, was right as COVID was ending. We had, we couldn't really do anything physical. We were still doing everything online. There's a lot of students going in and out. My student teaching last year was half online, half in person with like 3 different cohort. You know what I mean? It was so many like
Wow, and you
juggling
came back.
balls. Yeah, and so that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, if I could survive that year and still look away being happy, it's probably gonna be okay.
Oh,
I
that's good.
Yeah, no worries. I was just I can understand though why so many teachers are choosing now as a time to leave though. I think it's a lot.
What do you think are some of the reasons, though? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because even just talking to a lot of my friends in the former teaching program that I was in at UCSB, some of them have already stopped teaching, and they got alongside me, they got a master's, right? But they spent like $20,000 to get this master's and to get this teaching credential, and then they sort of lose it in 3 years. And so I was thinking, like what happened? Because you don't spend $20,000, just on a whim.
That's a lot of money.
um, yeah, and I think the big thing is that I really do believe that there is a distinction between the subject and the profession of teaching. And I think this is especially true, I would say more so in all disciplines, but I've especially noticed it with the STEM disciplines, is to get like a math degree, like in college, you have to really do a lot, right? It's very passionate. And these people, these coworkers, these fellow students of mine, um, brilliant, brilliant people, passionate about math, passionate about physics, passionate about chemistry. Um, but you're not doing, first of all, and high school or middle school, the teaching someone that stuff is a completely different thing than learning about it and studying about it in college. And I found that the teachers that often leave the teaching children aspect of it.
I
So
think. Go ahead, Ruben.
there was a little bit of a breakup. Let me try to summarize maybe what you said, and you confirm or
Yeah.
deny. But basically, I think you're saying that there's a distinction between the content, perhaps of us that you're teaching.
Clear now, or
I'm sorry.
I think he was just sharing what you just because we missed pieces of what you shared, Jordan. So he was just kind of
okay.
summarizing and making sure that we got what you said.
Is what you said
Yes.
that there's a distinction between the content and learning this subject, perhaps math, and kind of the management of a class, or the tools that a teacher needs to teach that content. Would you say, is that what pretty much what you said, or am I missing something?
I would say that was exactly my point. I I've noticed that, you know, you'll have the educators who are really loving the subject, but yes, it's that break of, I would say that the profession of teaching is maybe 10% teaching the subject.
Mm,
Wow,
You know,
that's interesting.
yeah.
I no, really, like it's 10% teaching the subject, it's 15% getting them engaged, it's
Mhm.
15% managing a classroom, it's 15%, you know, grading papers and making lessons, interactive lessons, it's
Okay.
20%, you know, administration and all that. You know, it's such a big
That's
umbrella,
interesting.
and I think
I never looked at it that way. I was thinking you just meant the classroom, but you meant as a whole, as a teacher, it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
10% teaching. Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Hey,
yeah,
Jordan.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. Yeah, I think that's my big thing.
We we looked at a TV show this week. We're gonna review it this week, but it's called Abbott Elementary, and
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, my parents have been watching that, and they'll like send me clips every single week of it. Like, look, you're a teacher.
well, there's one episode that I thought was. There's several episodes that had some interesting moments, but there's one in particular that talked about, kind of depicted the tension between old teachers and new teachers, and a lot of it
Mm,
being technology and the
mhm,
manipulation of it, as being a real
mhm.
struggle with the old. Do you think that might contribute to some of the dropout rate of teachers?
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And I think even in the school that I teach at, there is that sort of divide. For example, I run a paperless classroom.
Mhm.
All of my lessons are Google slide decks. The exams are done online. They'll type out their papers and stuff like that. Um, every student has a computer, right? Um, and I think a lot of the older teachers are on that paper pencil track, the textbook track, you know. And I'm honestly there's a really good moment early on this year when LAUSD got hacked
Mm.
and all that stuff was shut down for 2 days. And I think that was honestly a wake up call for a lot of the younger teachers like me, because here we were running around with our heads cut off, right? And all the old heads are like chilling with their feet up, you know, on the desk, like, oh yeah, like this isn't gonna bother me at all. I got 10 lessons, you know, on paper on standby. And I ended up having to beg one of the older teachers, like, please, do you have like a worksheet that you can give me today? And
That's
so I think,
true. I mean, both is important,
yeah,
right? To be able to
yeah.
balance that and have it both. But yeah, I mean, I think I see that at our school as well, that divide, and it's such important thing, I think, to be in 2023, to know those apps and to know those
Mm-hmm.
programs. And I think that in 20 years, it'll be obviously everyone's doing it, because all this older folk will be gone. But there is something to say, like you shared, about having a couple of lessons there on paper.
There is a small gripe too, though, that I have that I've noticed.
Uh-huh.
I've talked to some of my students and stuff like that. I would say about half to three quarters of them have not or never had a like computer literacy type of computer lab or computer class.
Like a
I remember
typing
at least,
class, or
yeah, I remember at
yeah.
least in fourth and fifth grade, third, fourth, fifth,
Mhm.
you'd go to the computer lab. Our thing was called Mavis Beacon, which is like a typing
Okay.
software, right?
Mhm.
And you'd play little games, you'd learn how to type. I still see my students, I don't know if you can see with my fingers, but they're just one finger typing. You know,
Yeah.
they don't even know the
The home
sweat.
row,
Yeah,
right?
the home row. And they don't know. I had to teach them how to copy and paste, you know, at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year. And these types of like little tricks
Mhm.
that I think are honestly necessary if you're going to teach a tech centric class.
Mhm.
I don't think are being addressed early on. So I think on one hand, it's great that we're moving personally to more of a virtual paperless classroom, just for things like the environment, monetary reasons, ease for the students. Like my students can do my work, at home. I know a lot of them were COVID sick for weeks, 2 weeks, they have all the stuff there. But I think it needs to be a wholesale push. You can't just throw it on to high schools and middle schools. It needs to be then something that you really need to grow from the get-go.
What a great teaching lessons. I mean, even do those in the first week or 2 weeks of school, right? Just those simple applications and so forth. About the university, you're not too far from the university. Can you just tell us regarding what did they do right? What did they could do better to help teachers transition from there to the classroom? Or maybe they didn't get you ready. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the UCSB, the University of California, Santa Barbara program, actually did do a very good job in getting me ready. And there's a couple of things for that. First of all, they got rid of the disillusionment of teaching. And I think we mentioned sort of, or we skirted around it at the beginning of the talk so far. I remember my first professor. He walked in. His name's Mr. Duque. He's like 40 years old. He walks in. He sets his books down in sort of the virtual space, and he says, "First things first. If you're in the teaching profession to save souls, go be a priest." And that was big, though. Like, honestly, like, it was big, because I think especially for the younger teachers, this is maybe another reason to go back to question 2 about why so many people leave so early on. Think about the depictions of education that we have, like Stand and Deliver, Good Will Hunting, even in some sense Abbott Elementary, right? And the reality is not like that. You're not going to walk into some inner city school and magically change 180 kids' minds about your subject and about your education, And I found that, especially with younger teachers, it's a slap in the face those first 2 years of they have all these cool ideas and they want to change the world, right? And then they don't. And it's either A, they get mad at the kids and they become bitter, or B, they get mad at themselves and feel like a failure. And either way usually leads to them leaving.
That's a really useful point, because that you create these ideals and these visions, I could see the Joseph Smith, stones on the eyes and seeing heaven through his prophecy, ideals as you walk into the class. I do feel the need to defend Stand and Deliver, because we named this podcast after this.
I apologize.
You're correct. What's helpful, though, is for somebody who watches that movie then to go do the research on this, on Jaime Gotz, and realize that did not happen in a year or 2.
Yeah.
This took massive amount of work, sweat to get to that level. And if you are willing to put in, then you'll get some of that back. But yeah,
and that's just the thing they can never depict in a movie of an hour and 30 minutes, right? So I don't necessarily I don't want to say that I'm pointing fingers at these movies and saying you're the problem. But I think the good thing about my university was that they took off my rose-colored glasses immediately.
That's good.
They said, listen, yeah, you are not going to magically change the world with your young energy and pluck alone. You need real tools, and we are here to really help you gain those tools. And I think the second thing they really did was teaching, I would say, is an exercise, and you just got to get reps in. You got to get reps in. We were in the class. Ours was a 1-year program, but we were in the class the whole year. And I know some teacher programs don't even let the students in the class until like their last 6 months.
You mean like in an actual classroom?
Yeah, or like actually having them teach, like student teach the class.
Oh, student teaching. Oh, yeah.
We were student teaching kind of like the whole year round.
Okay.
And we had we did 6 months in a middle school, 3 months in a high school, 3 months in a middle school, and then 6 months we got to choose. So we said, actually, I want to do more high school, or actually, I want to do more middle school, which I think was great too, just to get, especially for single subject, we have 2 different age ranges,
Right. What has surprised you the most, though, since leaving that program, coming to the school you're at now, and working with the kids you work with? Because I think, you know, Ruben and I talk about, us getting older as being teachers, and we're looking already at, retirement in a few years. You're just starting the game, and so,
Yeah.
and I see that your youth is a big plus. But what else would you say regarding something that surprises you being there at your school?
Sorry, I'm thinking about it. Are you saying like in comparison to my time in the training program, or
No, I'm just meaning just in the everyday class. I mean, situation. I mean, regarding what would you say your strengths are besides your youth? What would you say that has helped you be successful in the classroom?
you know? Mhm. I would definitely say one of my strengths would probably be my emotional maturity.
Okay.
I would say that just being able to, first of all, not dig into the jabs and like the taunts that sometimes those students will throw at you. You know,
Mm,
you just having that emotional maturity to be above them and not stoop down to their level.
sure.
But then I would also say the emotional maturity to know that you are not the center of their world. You know, kind of going back to what I was talking a little bit about, like the sort of movie depiction earlier. Like you are one teacher in one of their 7 classes, and you know what? Maybe you will not be the teacher that changes their mind about history. You know, and being able to be okay with saying, you came into my classroom not liking history. If you leave my classroom not liking history, that's okay. Like I'm not going to feel devastated over it. I'm not going to feel like a failure over it. I'm going to do my best, as all teachers should. But I think that being able to sort of be able to have that emotional barrier between your career, because that's the thing, right? This is not just I think teaching most of all blends passion and career in a very, very close way. If you're in a teaching career, you love teaching. Like it's a very passionate career. But being able to have that barrier between, this is my profession, this is my career, versus I want to go out and help as many kids as I can, I think is important as well.
So would you say that that is the big lesson to any new teacher coming in? If there's one thing you could say, it would be emotionally mature. Don't let these comments sort of get you off track. Because I think that's a very good lesson. That's a good word for a new teacher.
Yeah, and yeah, emotional maturity, because especially as a young teacher, um, especially if you're teaching something like high school, you know, I was my first year teaching, I was 21. I was teaching a senior class in the student teaching thing. So I was 21 teaching to 18-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like there is not that much of an age difference. There's an experience difference for sure, but there's not that much of an age difference. And being able to set yourself emotionally mature, and create that space and that barrier between those students, still be friendly to them. And this is like one of the few times in your teaching career where you'll be able to relate to them. I get the same jokes of that as them. I get the same TV show references as them. It's only going to get worse from now, right? Pretty soon I'm going to reference something and none of the students are going to
Oh,
know
it
it. And I'm
happens
just
all the time with me, and I'm like, "What? You don't know who Cher is?"
exactly, right? And so
Yeah.
being able to be relatable to them while not being invested in them, I think is important. Being able to have that emotional maturity, understand that this is your career, right? And if you're wanting to do this long term, if you're not wanting to quit in 3 years, don't don't make these lofty goals for yourself. Don't expect that you're going to go change this school or change every student in your classroom, because as long as you're, I forgot to mention the second part of my professor's quote. He said, if you're in this profession to save souls, go be a priest. As long as you're a good teacher, you'll be saving souls anyways.
Okay.
So just focus on your practice, focus on your career, and the saving students, the changing students' minds, that will come naturally. That'll be a byproduct of your good teaching. Good teaching should also always be the goal. And the good things that come around good teaching practices will naturally happen.
So we have discussed on this channel in the past the ideas of loving your content is a good strategy because
Mhm.
that's transferable. Students can feel it and they
Yeah.
sometimes will catch the same passion for the content. So thinking in terms of that, what is your favorite either era to teach or lesson? Is there a particular
Mhm.
uh, time in history you really enjoy teaching?
Oh man, that's like asking, a kid what his favorite candy is in the candy store. Um, honestly, I would have to say for 10th grade, which is what I'm teaching right now, um, probably what we're just getting into right now, which is World War One. Now, me personally, as a historian, I love imperialism and the Industrial Revolution a lot more, but that tends to be like the snooze fest for the students because like there's no guns and tanks, you know what I mean? So World War One is that great blend between what the students like, which is the movie, video game style war violence type of stuff, and then the content that I like, which is I'm much more interested in the nationalism, the propaganda machine,
Mhm.
the long-term reasons for the war and the consequences of the Treaty of Versailles. So
Mm.
being able to share my passion, and then the kids are already naturally engaged because they're like, yeah, blood and guts and violence, but then being able to turn that on them, and say, why are you happy about this?
Mm. You got to watch the All Quiet on the Western. Have you seen that movie,
Oh
the new
yeah,
one?
I'm gonna show them so many clips of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez, it's pretty
it's
brutal. So yeah,
intense.
be
It's
careful.
intense.
I,
But
I,
it's
Yeah,
so good.
I didn't know it was out already.
it's great.
Yeah,
It is
it's nominated for Best
great.
Picture.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's it's.
behind, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Are you
you
okay with a minor spoiler, Ruben? Just in the very beginning
he
of
loves
the
spoilers.
film.
He loves them.
Oh, I don't mind because you're gonna get. You said a minor spoiler. Jacob literally spoiled the entire movie last week. I had to put. It was the first time in 2 years. First time in 2 years, I had to put it in the description of our video because it was like
No.
He's
people
being a
are gonna
little. Oh,
literally said everything, and I was like,
he
no.
did a little too. He did a little as well. I wasn't the only person
Anyway,
doing wrong.
Jordan, I know that you're just gonna do a quick snapshot. Go for it.
Yeah, just one clip that I'm gonna show them is the very beginning. You follow a jacket, just a jacket, and it's the jacket that the 16-year-old kid's wearing, and he dies, and then you just see like they really frame it in terms of like the industrial product of war, right? This
Mm.
jacket gets cleaned, it gets washed, it gets transferred, right? And then eventually it gets given then to your protagonist, which is another 16-year-old kid. And it's just showing that
That was a great
mechanized
scene.
cycle. Yeah, it's a fantastic scene to start out.
I have a thought.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Uh-oh.
Can you I haven't seen it yet.
Mhm.
You'll be willing to review it with us? Review like we do these movie reviews.
Mhm.
Would you be down to review the movie with us?
Oh, like a commentary track, or something like that,
Well,
or
just
just an
come back
overall
and
review.
we just spend a few minutes talking about it.
Yeah,
We just
I'd love
spent
that.
about 10 to 15 minutes talking about our why this is a great movie and how it could be taught.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be
I'd be
great.
totally open to that. I'm doing a bunch of lessons with the film right now. Instead of showing the whole film as like a movie day, we're kind of just each day we're gonna get like a 5-minute clip
Mm.
of the film and sort of track through that. I think is how I would do it. But yeah, I'd be totally open to that.
I've
That's awesome.
taught I've taught the story.
Mhm.
As a teacher, I've taught All Quiet on the Western Front. So it would be kind of cool to talk as an English teacher to history teachers and
Mhm.
what we can do with it. We might I think it'll be useful for teachers. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
we'll set
Awesome.
we'll set an email date on that.
Hey, you know what, Jordan? As we're coming to a close right now,
Mhm.
I have a couple of questions. One, a student that we both share, we have
Mhm.
asked me to ask you a question, and I said,
Oh,
okay, I'll do that.
awesome.
And one of them is where would you, if you weren't teaching, what would you be doing? I mean, I know it sounds like
Mm.
you love teaching. Your father
Yeah.
was a teacher.
Yeah.
It might be hard for you to think that out, but what would you be doing?
No, it is a good question, right? Because I mean, I think I've been in the classroom like my entire life. Like even during the summer, every single summer, I'd be with my dad for a month in August, setting up his classrooms.
Hmm.
Every single summer. And so I've just surrounded myself with the educational sphere, and I've always loved teaching. Even when I was in like middle school and high school, like I would be the kid that would like tutor my other friends in class, like, oh, teacher, can I help so and so with the homework, just because I liked to share things.
Right.
But I actually went into college as a physics major.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah,
Really? Physics?
yeah, it's
Oh,
because
okay.
my dad was an inspiration, but my grandpa was an inspiration to me as well.
Okay.
He was a aerospace engineer for Boeing. He worked on missiles and the missile defense programs and everything like that. And so my initial dream was always to be an astronaut. I'm letting y'all know, the only thing that's going to get me out of teaching is when they ask me to join the Mars colony. I am first on board. I
Whoa.
am saying goodbye, world. I'm heading off to space.
It might not be too long from now, buddy.
I know, and you bet I'm gonna bring a journal. I'm gonna be the historian, and I cannot wait because 100 years from now, all of those college kids are gonna have to use me as a source. I am gonna be the source now.
Excellent, excellent.
But yeah, I wanted to be a astronaut, physicist, scientist type of thing as my initial passion. Mm-hmm.
And then one last question. She asked,
Yeah.
"Hey, what would you what would surprise your students to know something about you that you do maybe in your free time that maybe they don't know about or that you enjoy doing? And maybe some of them do know you do it, but what do you do
Yeah,
that might surprise them?"
so one of my hobbies is that I model paint. I do painting models and stuff like that.
Oh,
Do you want me to go grab one right now? And I
please.
can maybe show the
Yeah.
camera. Yeah,
A
I'll be right
model
back.
maker. Oh, I think that's a first. I like that blurriness.
He walked into the vortex, like he walked into you know what I mean? He into Narnia.
He's coming back in. You're right. That's kind of freaky looking. I like that blurred.
I don't know how well this is going to show up with the blur.
Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah. Let me see here. What is that, Jordan?
Can you see it okay?
A little bit.
So it's not only is it modeling, it's even nerdier than that, if you can believe it.
Oh, there you go.
Is that better without the blur? Yeah.
Please make your bed, Jordan. But go ahead.
So this is called Warhammer 40,000. And not only do you build and paint plastic models, but you end up building a whole army. And then you meet up with other nerds.
You're a Game of Thrones kind of guy. I knew it. Dang, I knew it.
Yeah. So, and you basically square off with each other's armies. And then it's kind of like a game of chess where all the pieces are pieces, right? And so you move, and it's called a tabletop game, right? And so you literally play on a table. It's about the size of your board. And yeah, you build an army and you move them around. I have a whole shelf. I got 2 armies right now. So you build them, you paint them, and then you play against other nerds at Warhammer.
These kids will be blown away that we have lives and we have fun things that we do and we have hobbies.
I know. Well, that's what I was gonna say. One last thing about surviving as a second year, first year teacher. Please, for the love of all things that is good, do not make teaching your whole life. Really, having a de-stressor, having something that reminds you that you're an adult and that reminds you that your life is not around this educational space. Because I see so many teachers give their heart and soul for 5 years and then they burn out. And I keep on telling them it's not a race, it's a marathon. It's a marathon. If you want to survive 30 years, you have to do it. Sorry, Ruben, what was that?
Jordan, I'm glad building that is a distressor to you, but piece of advice: don't tell your students about that.
Come on. That's not right. Jordan, don't listen to this guy. This guy's we're gonna cut that out. Jordan, don't worry. I'm gonna edit. I could edit.
You're fine.
Oh,
no, there's one of 2 responses. There's 2 responses to that
one.
Warhammer 40,000. Your Jacob's responses and Ruben's responses.
Exactly.
That encapsulates.
We came from the same mother and father. Can you believe it? We came from the same 2 people. Hey, listen, Jordan, we want to thank you for coming on Pod and Deliver and being that voice that second. This was so much fun. It was fun having you on, and we're gonna have you on again. Ruben invited you when we do the All Quiet on the Western Front. And thanks for being willing to do that. And hey, for everyone out there, thank you for joining us today on this episode of Pod and Deliver. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.